everyone, a very good evening. You're watching The Money Show. However, there's a bit of a difference. It's the wedding special episode of The Money Show. Reason being, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Every second day, and I'm sure a lot of you guys as well have your mailboxes, your email inboxes full with save the dates and wedding invites, because this is the best time essentially to get married because of conducive weather. Hence, we thought of taking this opportunity to make it a wedding special episode of The Money Show. So here's what we are going to be telling you about. First, yes, you're ready to get married. You found yourself a great partner. Now it's time to talk money to avoid any other embarrassing events later on. So here's what we're going to tell you about the financial conversations you should have, the financial mistakes couples must avoid, and how to match your financial kundli. Later on the show, for all you guys who want to get married, well, you can do so by doing it smartly and not spending too much as well on the wedding. I'm going to be joined by Vikram Mehta of Empire Weddings to talk about how to do a wedding in a budget. And finally, here's a couple that's actually done their wedding in a budget. Rohan and Riya Desai will give you a real life story on how they planned their wedding. But before we do all of that, here's the first part of the conversation, something called as financial kundlis. We usually do look at our astrologer, we consult our, our family pundit, etc., and ask if the girl or the guy are perfect for us. But have you ever thought that it's important to match a financial kundli as well? How to do that and how to get out of any embarrassing financial situations later, I have with me Kalpesh Ashar of Certified Financial Planner joining in on the show.
Hi.
Kalpesh, thank you so much for joining in. There are a couple of questions that many guys especially are embarrassed to ask, their future fiance or, future wife. One is that what do we do with the bank accounts, after we get married? Do we merge it? What about all our investment accounts, our PPF, etc.? And also, how do we split the expenses? Because guys, let's face it, in today's day and age, you have a double income home. The wife is working, the husband's working. So who contributes to what expense? All of these awkward questions, sort of come up a bit later. But yeah, you have something that you've deciphered as financial kundli. So I've heard of, us calling our pundits and our astrologers that, this is the birth date and this is the name of the girl and this is the Rashi. Now, what exactly is financial kundli?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not an astrologer, not a pundit. I'm a simple financial planner. Okay, so that's a disclaimer. And you don't genuinely need an astrologer or a pundit to match a financial kundli.
Of course.
I think the two main roles in this are played by the couple themselves. And in this, the husband and the wife or the fiancé have the onus on them to match their financial kundlis. And as we know that any relationship, and more so the relationship of marriage, is built on 4 pillars. And those 4 pillars are trust, truth, companionship, and honesty. So, you can divide this into a pre-marriage type of a phase and post-marriage type of a phase. So let's talk about those phases first, And when we have a pre-marriage phase, I think that's very crucial. Because now in today's times, like you rightly mentioned, Mubina, that it's a dual income type of a scenario where the husband and the wife or the prospectives are responsible for running the day-to-day show and also planning their future goals. And if it's done in sync, I think nothing better than that. So the initial phase, and all of us have gone through it, the pre-marriage part or the courtship period, is a very, enjoyable period, emotional period, but
right.
Here I would say is where generally in most of the cases, the boy, tends to go a little bit overboard. So he also wants to impress his fiancé or his spouse, and he could go a bit overboard in showing a bit more flamboyancy in expenses or trying to, have unwanted expenses. But that is where, as humans, we should capture the essence of that person's financial behavior.
Okay.
And if the lady in question and the boy are mature enough that they sort these things out, that there is no need for any artificial type of relationship or showing off with your expenses, and everything should be brought down to a ground level. It is we who have to spend our lives together on a uniform platform, and the bridge is burnt there and there.
So basically you're saying that right from the time when you first meet, that's when the rules of sorts should be set clear. There should be no overindulgence of sorts, so that the other person's expectations are not raised to that level.
So I don't think the first meeting would be the right part of it, but genuinely it could be a stage where both of them are comfortable with each other and the reality sinks in. I think that is more important, and that is where this financial talk has to happen. Now, what is this talk which has to happen? So once a level of trust has been built, I think most importantly, because even people are probably starting off their careers or are in the midst of their careers when this stage would happen, ideally the age of anything between 23 to 28, that bit of age, or 30. I think the first thing is they need to discuss their incomes together. That what is that they are bringing home on a monthly basis or an annual basis? What are their spending habits? So there could be that this is human nature. One of them could be conservative, the other one could be a spendthrift. And it needs to be understood, because it's no point covering all these things under a blanket and saying that these don't need attention. No, these are crucial things. Because then they surface up very roughly when it's marriage which has happened and it's too late by then. The other thing here which needs to be focused on is the liabilities, because now we've seen that the younger generation gets into a borrowing mode very early in their career.
And easy debt as well.
Easy debt. So it's easy money which is available, the rates are decreasing, which we've seen, and lifestyles are increasing, expectancies are increasing. So it could be anything ranging from a normal personal loan to a car loan, or somebody could have taken a home loan if he's a higher earning person. So those liabilities need to be discussed and brought on a common platform. This non-financial part here, the psychological part is even the family finances or the family financial backgrounds need to be discussed here, because there could be a whole a difference of complete financial cultures, and we don't want a stage where these are not discussed, and then you probably have a very movie-like or a cinema type of a situation, and you have a clash of financial cultures. Let's put it that way. So this is very important. And the other part, which is even, I'm sorry to say, but it is prevalent even today, orthodoxy does prevail in many parts, that the husband should make it clear that post-marriage, will the wife be allowed to continue to pursue her profession with the same vigor and the same robustness
as she did before.
So that type of transparency should be discussed and adhered to.
Okay, all right. That's a fair point, and yes, it's quite unfortunate that the wife still needs permission of sorts in many parts of India, to work. But Kalpesh, now it gets much easier if you know the person beforehand. However, in India, we do have, of course, more commonly the culture of arranged marriage, and I think that's even more trickier because the parents are involved, and sometimes the girl and the guy don't really get enough time to talk very openly. In such a situation, would you say it's a bit more tricky?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit more tricky. But again, what works here is communication.
Okay.
And if people don't communicate, I think, and they put things under a carpet, I think it will surface up as a very big issue somewhere later on. So the normal features which we've seen, that what do husbands do not convey to the wives in a traditional Indian family is, it's very unfortunate.
How much they earn.
How much they earn, absolutely. With
I kind of figured.
Yeah, so I don't really understand on a personal note what is there to conceal about it. But it is a prevalent thing. And people don't say how much they earn. Now that is more prevalent in the business part of it. That people who have entrepreneurs or who are, have businesses, probably if it's a salary thing, it would be little bit more transparent, because that is actually what's going to come. So in a normal case, that people do not disclose the right income to their spouse. Now that could be for varied reasons, that they do not want to show the whole picture to the wife, which is again very, very unfortunate. And second thing is, they could be fearing that if I disclose a larger part of it, there could be more spendings which could happen. So these are psychological reasons, but they do play a part.
So Kalpesh, let's say if many couples who are just about to get married and maybe they're just a couple of months away, what are the key topics in terms of finances that they should sit across the table and discuss? I'm sure debt is something that you mentioned, that who has how much debt. What else, if they have to, sort of in the interest of disclosure of all the finances?
So the second thing which they should have is, more importantly, what assets do they possess?
Okay.
Yeah, so what have they invested in? And I will come to that point why this needs to be discussed. People will ask,
Yes.
what is the need to disclose? So I'm going to hit that point also.
Yes.
One is the assets, what have they invested in? The other part is they should be discussing that are they oriented toward finances?
Okay.
What I mean here is that do they believe in the habit of investing or only saving? Because there's a world of difference when you say
True.
what is a saving and what is an investing. So that needs to be done, because what they are going to do is, and the point which I'm going to make here is, post-marriage, they're going to achieve common goals.
Okay.
And if those habits are not, synced, I would say that if one is just a conservative nature, that he believes that the
Just
bank,
saving money,
saving
yeah,
money in a
yeah.
bank conventional account is the best thing to, grow money, that is wrong. And the other person who's a very savvy type of an
Investment
investor,
savvy.
and he knows all the do's
All
and
our
don'ts.
TMS viewers.
Yeah, all the MS viewers probably. So it could be a big mismatch out there.
Okay.
The other important part which I mentioned here is, surely if they are planning to pursue an educational course
Okay.
for their careers, say either pre-marriage or post-marriage, because nowadays even an educational course for even enhancing your career in the future is going to cost you a lot.
True.
So who's going to bear the expenses for that? And how are they going to pool in their resources? So these things are very, very crucial.
Any major expense, basically.
Any major expense which is going to affect them in a collective way.
Okay.
That's what I think needs to be discussed.
Okay.
So in a very important way. And post-marriage, I would like to mention here one more point, is that people who again are in business, it's again an ego problem, do not like to disclose their liabilities. That is very sad. And if they are undergoing a bad patch in their business, if they have high amount of people loans to repay, they do not disclose that to their families. And we've seen it real life, that if there is a calamity, if there is a problem, the entire world would probably know what is the outstanding which that person has, except the poor wife or the family. And that's a very, very sad situation to be in. And in today's times, I've always believed that although the situation is getting very complicated in terms of complex products and everything, let's not forget we live in a digital age, and everything is a password-oriented thing.
True.
So if you are operating your bank accounts or something, I think your family or your spouse should be aware of it, that what is it that you're operating, because that is the closest they can get to in terms of access to your holdings or your wealth.
Okay. Now, after marriage, both the individuals have their own bank account, they have their own PPF, they have their perhaps SIPs, mutual funds, etc. Post-marriage, should you look at both the assets collectively, as in to achieve one family goal of retirement, wealth creation, whatever it is? I mean, should these assets be pooled together and looked at that, okay, my SIP is of 50,000 and my husband's SIP is 75,000, so collectively we have 1.25 lakhs. Is that the right way to look at it, or it's still, you're on your own and I'm on my own? How will it work?
No, so
then?
the ideal thing is, because if everything is on the same linear platform, it should be clubbed as one.
Okay.
So everything goes into a family pool.
Okay.
And then the whole outlook changes, because instead of one asset class trying to achieve one goal, you have two people dually looking at that goal together. It becomes easier. So even on a practical perspective, even if a loan has to be taken, we always know that a loan taken on two different names has their own tax benefits.
Correct.
And it's a joint ownership. It gives a sense of security also, if it's a home loan, to the wife also, that the borrowing is still on her name and she also needs to be a part of it. So it gives a sense of belonging there also.
True.
And here is where financial inclusion comes into the picture. That the spouse, the woman of the house and the man of the house should be jointly looking at their finances, should be taking joint decisions. And it should not be the male prerogative which takes decisions on a singular basis. I think then the woman is left out and she doesn't feel a part and process of the whole achievement which they have
You
to
know,
do.
this actually brings me to another point which we should address this on the Money Show as well, and that is how the patriarch of the family, usually who's in charge of the finances, who's basically the breadwinner, he does not disclose everything to the wife or the children. And then, God forbid, if there's an incident, there's an accident, sometimes the family struggles to access the finances because he's not disclosed everything.
Absolutely, and this is even the assets.
Yeah.
And we'll take it a stretch further. People, after making a will, do not disclose to their family that they have a will. So for whom they have earned, for whom they have worked their entire life, they have been passionate about their jobs or their profession, and it all boils down to one thing, that the real transfer of assets has not happened at the right time. The family is suffering, and it all boils down to a big zero.
Okay, all right. Now, Kalpesh, like I said, everyone has a savings account, PPF, etc. To what extent would you say, let's merge it? For example, would you say that, okay, I give up my savings account and I merge it with my husband and we have one common bank account. Similarly, my PPF, I transfer it, we have one common PPF. To what extent should that individuality be there, that, my asset is purely in my name? I don't need to share everything with the husband or the wife.
Now, this is a matter, which is coming up a lot.
Okay.
And I will straight attribute this to the women feeling insecure about her share being given to the husband. At a certain point of time, or probably everything going into the family. And God forbid, if there is a situation where there's a separation, there's a divorce, and if everything has been pooled together, and what does she have to have for herself? Now, this is a very tricky situation which has to be handled, and we do that. So in case where there are signs of a marriage not doing well, or there are some rumblings happening, then the woman automatically would take a little bit of a backseat.
Okay.
And she would on her own send signals that she is not willing to pool in everything for the family goals. And that is where we always want a good positive situation in life. So that is where we always say that the level of trust between two people should be utmost. But answering your question, Mubina, it is also necessary that the woman maintains something on her own. Now, in our tradition, there is something called a Stridhan, which is in terms of a jewelry or something, which is the entire right of the woman herself, and nobody can tread into it. So nobody takes that away. And I think here, it is the husband's responsibility also, that to first invoke that type of a confidence in the lady, that, madam, this is for you. We will still not put this into the family finances, and you can take care of it till you feel confident. So automatically here what happens is a layer of trust, a platform is built where the woman feels secure, and she can still keep some assets like what you named, a PPF or a long-term secure asset with her completely.
Okay, so basically to just sum up our conversation, and for all the couples out there with impending nuptials, debt is something that has to be discussed, has to be on the table. The fact that it's going to be a double income household, I think expenses as well should be discussed.
Absolutely.
To what extent which spouse will take care of what expense as well is something I think that's worthy of discussing, and as to how each one's asset will be titled. If it's my fixed deposit, if it's my savings account, to what extent will it be clubbed?
Absolutely.
But yeah, Kalpesh also mentioned a very important point, and that is that after marriage, you should club all the assets together so you have one family pool, and it sometimes becomes easy as well. I mean, two is better than one, so it's always easier to achieve a common goal if you're clubbing in both, your incomes, your savings, and your financial pool. But on that note, Kalpesh, this was a lovely discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. So folks, forget about the pundit, the astrologer. The financial kundli is something that should be matched, because that in turn will ensure longevity of your marriage, happiness, prosperity as well. And of course, for all the couples out there with their impending nuptials, you got to watch this video, bookmark it, and the next time you go to meet a girl, make sure you ask her these questions, but perhaps in a more toned down manner. On that note, we'll take a very short break on The Money Show, but do stay tuned. We've got a lot of exciting content coming right up after this break.